The National Association of Realtors just put Boise on a list with Miami, New York City, and Riverside, California. And it is not for the sunshine. It is for homes regular people cannot afford. If you're planning a move to Idaho, please let that sit for just a second. And if you grew up in this valley, you did not need a national list to tell you that. You've watched it happen. You've watched the prices, the traffic, and the field. And I want to be honest with you first. I do sell real estate in Idaho, and I do benefit when people move here. So it would be very easy to tell you everything is fine. I'm not going to do that because every week I watch buyers do something I call chasing the screenshot. They save a picture of somebody else's Idaho, a listing, a drone shot, a barn off some influencer's feed, the quiet roads, affordable land, or even just a hayfield out the back window. And then they buy in a zip code where that picture stopped being true 5 years ago. If you're from here, you're not chasing a screenshot. You're chasing a memory. That field that's gone, the 10-minute drive that is no longer. And one of those pictures comes from the internet and the other one comes from growing up here. But they're pictures of the same Idaho. So here's the plan. I'm going to name the fears out loud. The price, the crowds, the traffic, the vanishing farmland, and the big one almost nobody says on camera. Then I'm going to show you what the data actually says. And on most of these fears, it says the opposite of what you expect. And then I'll show you where that Idaho still exists, because it does. Now, I'm not trying to talk you out of Idaho. I want to make sure when you get here, you know Idaho and you get to stay. First, the part nobody gets to argue with. The median home price in Ada County has tripled since 2011, tripled. And since the 2020 census, Ada and Canyon counties have added roughly 150,000 people. That is about 70 new neighbors a day, every day for 6 years. Now, I'm a native here. I live in Boise. I sit in the same Eagle Road traffic you do, and I've watched the fields I grew up driving past turn into roof lines. Now, be honest with me. You've seen the picture, whether it's a red barn, a hayfield, the mountains behind it, or maybe yours isn't a picture you found, or maybe it is a memory of this valley, the way it looked from the back seat of your parents' car. And that picture is the closest thing most people have to a plan. So hold on to it. We're gonna come back to it. So get ready. I'm about to throw a lot of numbers and town names at you. So my team and I built something called the Treasure Valley Relocation Audit. It is the exact set of questions we make every buyer answer before we even get in the car. Your budget, commute, lot size, and the trade-offs ring by ring. Now, if you already live here, it works exactly the same. If you're deciding whether to stay put or move one town out, grab it in the description. It's free. Fear number one, the money and the math other agents hope you never run. The National Association of Realtors tracks how many listings a household earning under $100,000 a year can actually afford. When I pulled this, Boise was more than 20 points below a balanced market, sitting on the same list as Miami, New York, and Riverside. Let that land for a minute. The median sold price in Ada County as of the May numbers was $575,843. The average wage in the Boise metro is about $62,000. Now picture standing in a driveway you love, running that math and feeling your stomach drop. If you're local, that's the math your grown kids are doing right now. It's why so many of them are doing it from another state. And no, nobody serious is calling this a bubble. The forecasts I've read expect Boise prices to stay roughly flat this year. That is not a crash story. It is a demand story. Here's the part other agents skip. The price of Idaho depends entirely on where you're standing. Here is the native math. Cross the county line into Canyon County, and the median, as of May, drops to about $444,000. Same valley, same Costco run, but roughly $130,000 of difference. Go one ring further out to Emmett in Gem County, and this spring the median was sitting in the mid 400s. Small town medians bounce, so we verify the week you shop. And here's what catches people once they buy: the homeowner's exemption, the thing that shrinks your taxable value. Now, it is not automatic. You have to file for it with the county assessor. Now, before you say, fine, I'll just buy in one of the quiet towns, hold on. The quiet towns are fear number 2. The boom did not stop. It moved. Compass, the Valley's planning agency, put out new population estimates in April. Star and CUNA each grew about 14% in a single year. That's 1 year. And since the 2020 census, Star has more than doubled. The towns people moved to for peace and quiet 5 years ago are now the fastest growing places in the state. And if you've been picturing that quiet town, Idaho, I bet Star was on your short list. 14% in 1 year is exactly what happened to the place you're trying to leave. That realization is this whole video. Now, here's the reframe. Growth in this valley isn't a flood that hits everywhere at once. It's a wave, and it moves in one direction outward along the roads, which means you can read where it's going next. And the biggest clue is the thing everybody blames first: the traffic. Fear 3, the traffic. Eagle Road is as wide as it's ever going to get. Planners say there's no room left to add lanes. So if your plan is to buy near Eagle Road and hope the traffic gets better, it won't. Eagle Road is yesterday's growth story, but here's tomorrow's. The state is finishing Highway 16, a full freeway connection from I-84 up to Highway 44. Now, $475 million, the first new freeway this valley has built in more than 4 decades. And the whole corridor is on track to open in 2027 ahead of schedule. When a brand new freeway opens, the land around it does not stay quiet. So buyers who get ahead of that road are buying infrastructure before the price knows it exists. Buyers who ignore it are buying yesterday's commute. 25 minutes off the valley floor, the subdivisions thin out and the hayfields start coming back. More on where that road leads in a minute, because first, the fear that hurts the most if you're from here. Fear 4, the vanishing farmland. Between 2017 and 2022, Idaho took 144,000 acres of working farm and ranch land out of production. That's the USDA's own ag census. And the American Farmland Trust estimates Idaho now converts more than 10 square miles of farmland to development a year. 10 square miles every year. If you grew up here, you don't need that number. You've got a field you learn to drive past. Corn one summer, survey stakes the next, and rooftops the year after that. That field is the memory you're chasing. And that loss is absolutely real. I'm not going to pretend it isn't, because I feel it too. But here's where I push back on the comment sections. I know the argument. If people just stopped moving here, the farms would still be farms. However, 70 new neighbors a day isn't a faucet anyone can turn off. The real question is where they all go. And right now, the easiest place to put a subdivision is in a hayfield. The family moving in did not make that call, and the farmer who sold didn't betray anybody when land values triple and farm costs keep climbing. The math comes for everybody. Which field gets protected and where the houses go, that gets decided in zoning meetings. That's where the fight actually is, not between the neighbors. Now the fear almost nobody says on camera. Here's what buyers actually say to me at the desk. They're not just moving for a house, they're moving for a way of life. They're moving here for space, for more public land, for low taxes, and for fewer rules. And their real fear is that the boom will turn Idaho into the exact place they're trying to leave. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to show you the public record because you're about to bet your savings on it. Let's first look at the politics. As of this year, roughly 62% of Idaho's registered voters are Republican. About 11.5% are Democrat. Now, here's the number that flips the fear on its head. Of the voters who moved their registration here from California, data tracked by the Secretary of State's office showed about 77% registered Republican. And Boise State's annual survey has found newcomers just as likely as longtime residents to identify Republican. Some years are more likely. By the numbers, people aren't moving here to change Idaho. They're moving here because of what it already is. However, one honest footnote, Boise itself, like most bigger cities anywhere, runs more moderate than the state as a whole. That's just the geography. Now, let's look at taxes. The fear is they're about to climb. Now, the record points the other way. Idaho now has a flat 5.3% income tax. The legislature passed over $400 million in tax cuts in a single year. And the co-chair of the legislature's budget committee said the average homeowner should see property taxes come down about 14.6% from the relief bills. If your property tax bill still stings, that's rising home values doing the pushing, not new tax rates. And third, the freedom of choice. This February, the Idaho Supreme Court upheld the parental choice tax credit, up to $5,000 per student that families can put toward private tuition, tutoring, or curriculum. And that freedom runs past the classroom. Now, constitutional carry is also law here, and 63% of the state is public land. That way of life is not a vibe, it is structural. Now the part I have to say because I don't want to oversell. Idaho does run stricter than a lot of states on some personal freedoms. No legal cannabis, medical or otherwise, and tighter liquor laws than many people are used to. If that's a deal breaker, I'd rather you know today than after you've signed. Here's the question that I get in almost every consultation. When I pulled the most recent numbers, Idaho had the lowest total crime rate of any state in the country, about 11.7 incidents per 1,000 residents. Now, that's a statewide documented number and one of the quietest reasons people love living here. So let's add it up. On the politics, the taxes, and the freedoms, the public record says Idaho is holding. So the honest bad news is not any of that. It is the price tag. Everything I just listed is exactly why 70 people a day keep showing up. And I call that the freedom premium. The way of life you're chasing is not disappearing. It's getting expensive because everybody else figured out that it does still exist. So the move isn't to panic. It's to get one ring ahead of the wave to the towns where that way of life still costs what regular people can pay. And whether you're chasing a screenshot or a memory, you are chasing the same Idaho. So where exactly is it? Well, let me take you there. It's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday in July, and you're standing on a back porch outside Emmett. The heat is finally lifting from the day, and you can hear irrigation water moving in the ditch and exactly zero traffic. Everything you still need, the jobs, the airport, the Costco run, is about a half an hour back down the road. That picture, the one you've seen or the one you've carried, is real. I've stood in it, and if you grew up here, you recognize it. It looks like the valley you remember. However, it is 25 minutes further out than the YouTube thumbnails told you. But before you open Zillow tonight, there are 3 things you need to hear. And the first one is the wages. If your income moves with you, the outer ring math works beautifully. If you need a local paycheck, remember that $62,000 average wage, and run your numbers before you fall in love with anything. Now, second, the quiet towns won't stay this quiet. The same Highway 16 that makes Emmett practical is the reason new subdivisions are already breaking ground out there. Buying the character now means accepting the growth later. And third, rural property is a different sport. You're going to have wells, septic, irrigation districts, water rights, and none of that shows up on the listing photos, and all of it can change what a property is actually worth. There's just a lot more due diligence. This video can hand you the map. Now, it cannot tell you which town and which lot fits your budget, your commute, and your water situation. But knowing that Idaho exists and knowing which version of it you can actually live in, those are 2 different problems. I am a business person. I do earn my living when you buy a home. However, I would rather lose a fast commission today than watch another family buy a 2015 dream inside a 2026 subdivision nightmare. I do not want you to be blindsided. So here is my advice. If you're relocating and your whole plan is a picture of somebody else's Idaho, please book a strategy call. We'll turn that picture into a short list of real towns with real numbers. Now, if you're a local sitting on Ada County equity thinking, I don't want to leave Idaho, but I don't know if I can stay in the life I remember, book a strategy call as well. Your equity might be the ticket back to that life, just one ring out. Now, if you're renting here and watching prices and wondering if the door already closed on you, book the strategy call. The door didn't close. It just has moved. My team and I at Good News Realty Group have helped dozens of families make exactly that kind of move. And that strategy call is where we build your version of the map, your budget, your commute, and your ring. The link is in the description right next to the free relocation audit. Start with either one. Go back to that picture in your mind or on your phone, the one you found or the one you remember. I'm not going to promise you the exact one, but a year from now, you could be standing on a back porch taking the real photo yourself, not a picture of somebody else's Idaho. Yours. And if you're from here, the life you remember didn't disappear. It has just moved one ring out, and it's still yours to go get. For some of you, what I said today is a deal breaker. The prices, the growth, the trade-offs. That is okay. For most of you, Idaho is still exactly what you're hoping it is. The space is still here, the freedom is still here, and the way of life is holding. The data says so. You just have to be smarter than the wave and pay the freedom premium where it's still small. I'm Rachel. I don't want you to be blindsided by the biggest move of your life, and I will see you in the next one.